preach at a church where the preacher preaches and the people speak back. If you can't talk back this morning, we can't rely on you to get out on the campaign trail. So I want you to engage right from the get-go. So the first thing I want to do this morning, and I wrote down some names. If I miss you, if I'm missing somebody, raise your hand and talk to me. I want to call out some people here. First of all, I want to thank Sheriff Daly for being here. We appreciate him. And we're still believing God for your healing. You're way too young and too good looking to die early. So we're standing in faith, and we lift you up in prayer. And Tony Baker, glad that you're here this morning. Calvin Pemberton. Calvin and I have gotten to know each other over the last couple of years, and I have just grown to really love Calvin and his courage, and he spends a lot of time working for things that really matter for this country and for this state, so I thank him. And he's the 3rd Congressional District Chair, and that's an important job, and he's doing a good job. Kevin Stocker, Public Service Commission, we're glad that he's here this morning. So if you don't have cell phone coverage, talk to him, right? Glad to see John Axtell here from KCSR, 610. I want to thank my team, Orrin Petska and Meg Kalina. They're not here this morning, but they are the folks that have formed a consulting group called Unpaved, and you're going to hear more about them in the future. Right now they're working on 2 campaigns. They're working on 2 campaigns, our campaign and then Lana Peaster down towards Kearney. Okay? And let me just tell you that they are, Orrin and Meg are rock stars in the making. They have decided to jump into a segment of society, political consulting, that frankly just is not filled with a whole lot of good people. Now I know there's good people there, but not a whole lot. And so I really am thankful for them. And so some of you will be getting to know them in the future. I want to thank my grandma for being here. I'm going to be 99 years old. I'm her first grandchild. I'm the oldest out of how many grandchildren? How many grandchildren? Just grandchildren. 7 grandchildren, I'm the oldest. So so she's my biggest fan. And she thinks that there's only 2 preachers in the world, John the Baptist and Tony Tangwall. So I'm thankful that she's here. So did I miss anybody that I should recognize this morning? You're pointing at something like yeah. Wait a second. Kyle, I want to thank him for helping us with the business name again. Cruiser Creations locally right here helped us get some stickers made on a real short notice. And so, you know what? We were talking about where we're going to buy things for the campaign, and obviously we want to be very smart with our money. But the other day we were talking, now these had to come out of Omaha, right? But you know what? We're going to make a commitment to the 43rd District. If there's anybody in the 43rd District that does something that we need done, that's where we're going to put the money. We're not going to send it off to Omaha. So, you know what that's called? You're going to hear a key phrase. That's called economic development, right? Okay? We're not about, I'll get there in a minute. When Senator Brewer called me, and in fact, Senator Erdman called me, I think about maybe the end of August, he said, "Hey, big dog," that's what he calls me, "Big dog, Senator Brewer's going to call you." And I thought, what have I done? And he said he's going to ask you to run for the legislature. So about 5 minutes later, Senator Brewer called me. And I hung up the phone, and I walked and found my wife, and I said, and I told him what he had asked us to do. And my wife's response was, "What the heck?" And so I went and sat in the living room, and I began to think about it, began to pray about it. I prayed about it every day for an hour for 30 days, and began to ask God what His plan for our lives was. And when the answer came, and I knew I was supposed to do it, then I began to think, and I'm really glad Senator Brewer shared his story. When Senator Brewer says he hasn't had no money, let me just tell you that Tony Tangwall has no money. Okay? But you know what? How much money does it take to do the right thing?
That's right.
How much money does it take to stand up in the midst of an assembly that's going off the rails and be willing to say, no, I won't vote for that legislation because it's ungodly or it's immoral or it's taking away freedoms and liberties from people? How much money does it take to do that? Once you're there, it takes no money. It takes a spine.
Yeah.
It takes a backbone. And so I'm thankful to hear that he had no money. But then as I began to think, and that was the first thing, Senator Erdman said, oh, don't worry about the money. Senator Erdman actually told me he's got a condominium in Lincoln he's going to give me. Did you say give me or sell me? Okay, something like that. So and by the way, I'm thankful for these men.
Yeah.
I'm honored to know them. And we stand on their shoulders. Now, you can readily see that you get a better view standing on Senator Brewer's shoulders than Senator Erdman's shoulders. We stand on his shoulders. We stand on their shoulders. And so I began to think about it, and I thought, well, what would make me a viable candidate? And then I thought about the most influential political figure in our country in the last 100 years. I thought about President Donald Trump. And one of the things that people always say, and some people use it as a detraction, or they don't mean it in a nice way, they always say Donald Trump's always surrounded with beautiful women. He's always married to a beautiful woman. And I said, right there, I'm halfway there because I'm married to the most beautiful woman in the state of Nebraska. I got the beautiful woman, and so we get us some money and we can accomplish great things. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I want to tell you who we are and from the rock that we've been hewn from. There's times in our lives that shape us as people. Your grandparents, many of you from this area, your grandparents talked about the 49 blizzard until the day they died. The day that rolls around on the calendar, the 49 blizzard, it shaped their lives. Our great-grandparents spoke of the Great Depression. It shaped their lives. My mother's generation was shaped by things like the Kennedy assassination and the Vietnam War. What I want to tell you this morning is that there are things that have come into our lives, Tracy and my life, that have shaped us, that have formed us, that have made us what we are. And it's why we're in this race. In 2011, Tracy got breast cancer. And that rocked our world. And as first-generation farmers and ranchers, you know what a first-generation farmer and rancher is? It's like a unicorn. Most people have heard about them, but no one's ever met one.
Right.
And I honor you folks that have inherited your farms and your ranches that have been passed down from generation to generation, and that is the greatness of this nation. And I honor that, and I do not mean to minimize that in any way, shape, or form, because that's my plan for my family. But I want to tell you, when you start out from a dead dig, and you start out from scratch, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to have things that come against you that will rock your world and will kick you in the head and leave you for dead. And in 2011, when she got cancer, that was happening. Now, thanks be unto God, which always gives us the victory. She's healed, cancer-free. The Lord Jesus healed her. And we're thankful for that. And I want to tell you this. That cancer cost us a lot. It cost us a lot. It cost us some of our land. It cost us our cow herd. And it cost us a piece of ground. And when we sold that piece of ground, because we had a mortgage, do you know where that money goes? It goes right to the mortgage. You don't even see it unless you get more than what the mortgage is. So we sold a piece of ground, and I never even saw a dollar of it. Now, praise the Lord. By the way, forgive me. I know I'll slip into the preacher mode here a little bit, but praise the Lord. We paid off a lot of stuff. It got us out of some terrible debt. But you know what? It created a tax liability that, frankly, will just absolutely stun the average person in the form of income tax to the state of Nebraska and in the form of capital gains tax to the United States government. How does an individual who has spent 3 years dealing with cancer, driving back and forth to Tulsa, Oklahoma, who has had everything that they've had to sell, and liquidated, how does an individual like that come up with $130,000? I'm not telling you this for a sob story, because you're looking at people, and when you see my family, you're looking at victors. There is no victim in us at all. We are victors, and we are conquerors. So I'm not giving you a sob story, but I'm going to explain something to you right now. Things can come up against you that you have to deal with. And so we hired a tax attorney. You've seen them on television. If you watch television for 1 hour, you'll see. If you owe more than X amount of dollars in taxes, call this number. So we hired a good tax attorney. And he said, no problem, this is what we're here for. And he said, we can take care of this. He said, the federal government understands, but he said, they got to know the right people to talk to. And so as we went through that process, he contacted the state of Nebraska. And he said to the state of Nebraska, is there any way that we can do anything with this $30,000 that these people owe to the state of Nebraska? Here's the circumstances. And I want to tell you what the great state of Nebraska said. They said, we want every dollar. We want every dollar. I'm telling you why I'm getting in this race. We want every dollar. They said, we'll take payments. I said, okay. They said, what payment can you pay? And I gave them a number. And then they gave me their number. They weren't even close. They said, we'll take $1,000 a month for the next 30 months. I said, all right. That's the best you can do? That's the best they said they could do. And so we did it. We did it. And halfway through that, COVID came. And we did it. And the federal government, we're still working with them. And you want to know why we're still working with them on that? Because COVID came. And just as our attorneys was talking to the federal government and the IRS and working out these things, COVID came and the IRS shut down. And the state of California shut down, where my attorney's at. And we're still working. I want to tell you this morning that your government, whether it's at the county level, the state level, or the federal level, should not be the last straw that breaks your back.
No.
It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. And so we're here to fight for a few things. And you can see it. Now, I think the signs are pretty neat. I think Meg and Orange just did a wonderful job. But these are our core values right here. We're here to promote liberty. Everywhere we go, and I'm thankful that Senator Brewer is going to help us and school us and coach us. But I tell you, everywhere I go, the first part of our message is that God has, your Creator, you have been endowed by your Creator with unalienable rights. You've been endowed by your Creator. The state of Nebraska didn't do that. The United States government, your Creator, did that. And I will not agree to, promote, or stand idly by while legislation is proposed that would seek to take away any of your God-given liberties. I don't know if as a nation we are a post-liberty society. People talk to me about the epic tax, the epic consumption tax. And they always want to get into all the weeds on the money and the county and the control. And I want to tell you that if you really understand the truth, that the truth behind the epic tax, the thing that matters the most is liberty. Do you ever have the opportunity to own anything in this nation? Can you ever pay that ranch off or that house off or that business in town? Can you ever pay for anything and when it's all said and done, you own it? Or do you have to continue to go back to the county government and lease it back from them? If you have to do that, I want to tell you something. Our founding fathers don't think you have liberty. Am I being too strong? We're going to fight for liberty. I'm thankful that Senator Brewer fought hard for constitutional carry. Aren't you thankful for that?
Yeah.
That's liberty. That's liberty. We're going to fight for life. We're going to fight for life. Somehow this nation has gone off the rails and life is so cheap. We will fight for the unborn. We will fight for the lives of our children that are in the public school systems, for the children that are not in the public. We will see. We get so tangled up with life and pro-life, and we talk, and that's very important. But life is a long time living.
Yep.
We'll fight for the preborn, but we will fight for the 99-year-olds in this district that are having a hard time figuring out where they're going to live. There's an aging population. We have a problem in the 43rd district where people that get elderly, they don't know where to live. Now, thanks be unto God, she has the opportunity, and I've been a part of it. As a family, we have taken care of Grandma and Grandpa before he went to heaven a few years ago. But she's had the wonderful ability to stay at home and be cared for by her family. And that's an honor to do it, and she should be honored to have it. And I want to tell you something. I wonder if the state of Nebraska could see its way clear to look into the homes of the people in the 43rd district and say, hey, I see that you're taking care of your aged parents. Maybe there's some kind of tax incentive. Maybe there's something we could do on your taxes to help you to relieve the burden so they could stay at home.
Yep.
But for those that don't have that opportunity, through whatever thing that's ever happened in life, we need to address this situation. And I want to tell you this, that government is not the answer for it. Government has to come alongside and help facilitate the answer, but the answer is not found in government. The greatest thing that America has ever put on the world stage is a private sector that understands that if you leave people alone and you let them think and invent and work and keep what they earned, there's nothing more powerful. That is what made us the greatest economy on the face of the planet in 200 short years. We will fight for law. We're thankful we've had a good sheriff in Dawes County. Do you realize this? That the sheriff's he's the most powerful man in the county. That's where it's at. We got to get back to understanding a few things of how our nation was formed. We'll fight for law. Do you know that we're a border state? Do you know that we're a border state? Do you know that there are counties in the 43rd district that border a sovereign nation? You say, what are you saying? I found out last week, and I don't know all the particulars, and I just want to tell you that the Pine Ridge Reservation told the governor of South Dakota that she couldn't come on the reservation because they were having some kind of row. I only say that to say this. We need to understand that we are a border state. Sheriff Brewer spoke to us back a couple of months ago. Sheriff Brewer. Yeah. Yeah, the other one. I pointed to him, and it's his brother. He spoke to us about that. He talked about the things that are happening. This is not in no way, shape, or form a knock on the state of South Dakota or anything that goes on there. But he explained to us that there are things that are just going on that just never went on before. Fentanyl and all these things. And hear me well, I'm not talking bad about anybody in South Dakota, but we know that the elements that are coming across this border right now are finding places where they can lay low and where they can operate out of. And the areas that we are blessed to live in, there's a lot of places that if you want to, you can lay low and fly under the radar. We're a border state. We need to make sure that we support good law. We need to make sure that when we get and we find out that there's a bad law in the books, maybe we fight to repeal it. Just because something's written down once doesn't mean it can't be overturned. We're going to work for our livelihoods. The right to earn and to keep what you earn matters. If you somehow think that the government, whether state or federal, is going to take care of you from cradle to birth, I want to tell you that that government is broke. And you know that. We're running a $2 trillion deficit in this nation. You say, well, you're talking about national things, we're talking about a state race. What goes on in states matters. Strong legislatures matter. And I believe going forward in the future, our legislatures and our states are going to play a pivotal role in national things. We'll fight for our livelihoods, our jobs. Whether you're a small business owner in town, or you're a farmer and a rancher out in the country, or anything and everything in between that's legal and moral. Okay? We're not going to help you grow marijuana. Okay? Everything that's legal and moral, we're going to fight for it. Our land, our water belongs to the people. Our land and our water belongs to the people.
Yes.
We will fight this new Green Deal and everything that comes with it.
Yep.
We're not going to stand idly by. We're not going to stand idly by and watch the Chinese Communist Party buy up farm ground and ranch ground in the state of Nebraska.
Yeah.
Foreign governments should not own. They should not own land in our country. We'll fight for our livelihoods. We'll promote beef. There's only one type of beef, and it's not fake beef. It's real beef, and it's what's for dinner, right? We'll fight for our livelihoods. We'll fight to work to make it so you can keep what you've earned. When people talk to me, and you're going to hear in this campaign, you're going to hear these little key phrases, and some of you that are old enough, you've heard it, you'll hear it every election cycle. And I'll just give you two of them, and this is a little bit of a rant, but I'll give you two of them. Economic development and tax relief. You know what that amounts to? Nothing. Tax relief. Well, I got news for you. You will get tax relief. You curl up in a ball and die, and you just got tax relief. And economic development. What is economic development? I've got a plan for economic development. Why don't we let the good people that earn their money, why don't we have a tax system in this state that the good people that earn their money can keep their money? I don't need somebody in Lincoln to come up with some plan for economic development. The greatest economic developers are right here in this room. There's probably some of you that've got an idea, an invention, something that you'd like to do, and you think, if I just had $30,000, and then you go down to the county and you pay your property tax, and by George's, you think, if I could just have that, I could launch this. This is where economic development is. And I'll close with this. Like any great preacher, I'll say to you like Moses said to Pharaoh, we're going to let your people go here in a minute. But I'm going to close with this. This is my family, minus one. She's in Omaha, and she had to go to a class today. My youngest, Laura Lee. So she couldn't be here today. This is my family. My wife, Tracy. That's the good-looking woman I was telling you about. My son, Robbie. His soon-to-be son, Callan. His soon-to-be wife, Abby. My daughter, Maria. Her husband, Willie. My granddaughter, Adeline. My grandson, Carson. And my grandson, Asher. By the way, who do you think they're voting for? I will fight in Lincoln to preserve the ability to hand down a legacy to these children.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to go to my grave knowing that I didn't do everything in my power to leave this country in a better place than when I got here for these kids right here. I don't want transgender boys going in her bathroom.
No.
I don't want the state telling these boys lies about toxic masculinity. I want them to be masculine.
Yeah.
I want them to grow up to be men of honor, men of dignity, men of courage. And if the world wants to call that toxic masculinity, then you just go with that. But I'll just call it good old-fashioned manhood. And this family has fought the battle, and we've gone through the fire and through the flood. And I'll leave you with this. Don't ever judge a man by his scars until you first ask him how he got them. So you can all sit down except for Maria. And so this is not a campaign to get Tony Tangwall to the legislature. This is a campaign to get the legislature back to the 43rd district.
There you go.
Senator Erdman's going to come up here for just a minute, talk about some money things and his idea of that, and then Maria's going to speak, and then Senator Brewer, and then we'll be done.
Okay, Maria's good at speaking. She won the 4-H speaking contest several years back. And I have a story about that, so ask me later and I'll fill you in on that. So Senator Brewer and I are sitting here, and he said, we chose the right guy. Tony, that was good.
Very good.
So here's the deal. When I ran in 16, I had almost as much money as he had. I never had a fundraiser. I never thought I needed to. Because I had people like you in this room that said, that's the guy, right? So whether you give $10 or $1,000, whatever you can give, That's the answer. And when I needed money, it came in. And we did the same with him. I'm sorry I'm emotional here, but that was me.
It was. It really was.
He has it figured out. And I hope somebody recorded this,
Oh, yeah.
because we can play it to others. This is how it works. So, if you have at all any consideration to help Tony get to the finish line, he needs your help. You need your help telling your friends, both of them. Somebody got it. They need your help with contribution. He needs your help organizing things with people you know. He needs your help walking in the parades. They hand out literature. And more importantly, he needs your prayers. So with that, I'll turn it over to Marie, but I'll tell you something. I've been to a lot of rallies, I've been to a lot of announcements. Never one like this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good morning. So, Orrin Penska was supposed to share this with you guys, but he couldn't be here today. So, he asked me yesterday, very last minute, if I would share just something that we have available to kind of get the word out about different events that we're having, like the one that we had today, different ways that people can give and do things like that. So there is an app that is called Swipe Red. And I can help anybody who's interested in using this app later on after we're done. I'll be in the back and I can help you set it up. It's super easy. I did it over the phone with him yesterday. It took me about probably less than 10 minutes. So what it is there's an app. You'll go to your app store, I believe on Androids and iPhones, and you're going to download the app. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set up an account with your username, your email, make a password, that sort of thing. That's yours. You're not sharing that with anybody. And then I'm trying to remember the steps. So I set up an account, and then it went to what you're going to do is you're going to sync your phone contacts. And I know that sounds really creepy because when he told me to do that yesterday, I said, okay, what is this going to send out to everybody? And he said, no. What it is it's essentially what it does is when I synced my phone contacts, I had 278 contacts, which I was looking at some of them and saying, who is this person? But apparently I had all of these contacts. So then I synced my contacts, and then I went down here, and I'm just going to try to show you. There's a little button down here that says campaign. So I clicked on campaigns, and he told me to scroll all the way down to Nebraska, and we are the only campaign in the state of Nebraska right now that is using this app, which I think is pretty cool. And what is the company that's paired with this? Buzz 360. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, Buzz 360. But what it did was I clicked on the Tangwall campaign. It's the only one on there. So I clicked on Tangwall, and then I went and there's a button down here. It says Share to Contacts. So I hit Share to Contacts, and what it does is I'm trying to explain this. What it did was it synced my contacts that are in this area. It didn't sync my contacts from Oklahoma, New Jersey, Michigan. It just took all of my cell phone contacts that have the 308 or 402 area code. And it brought it up, and that's how I sent Isaac a text, because I was trying it out, because Isaac Sager popped up, and I said, oh, I'll send this to him to test it, because I know he's in support of Dad. So I sent it out, and it had all of these other contacts right here. And what I did is you just hit the little text message logo, and it sends out this official looking, have you guys ever gotten those texts from like a 72501 number that says, hey, come and do this, or Verizon's having this sale or whatever? Well, it didn't come from that. It came from me. So it looked like I was personally sending Isaac, Kyle, a text. And so it was coming from a trusted source. If you get a text, if Alyssa gets a text from me, she knows, oh, I can trust it because it's Maria, So what you can do is you can send out these messages to your friends, your family that are in the area that can vote for Dad in our 43rd district. So it's really cool. Orrin's gonna be adding more different campaign things, different events. If Dad's gonna be in Valentine, they'll add one for the Valentine area that we can send out to our friends, our family, people we may know. And then it's just gonna be a really modern way, I think, to get the word out over text messaging, because most people text nowadays. So if you guys need help with that, I'm going to be in the back of the room. And also, Orrin wanted me to tell you, it's not stealing. This app isn't stealing any of your personal information. It's just syncing your contacts and just sending it out. And it doesn't send it to anybody you don't want to. So it's not going to send it to my friends in New Jersey that have no idea what's going on. So it'll only send it to the specific people that you choose to send it out to. So if you guys need any help, I'll be in the back room when we're done, and thank you.
I don't want to say this is easy, but you take a couple of cavemen like Senator Erdman and I, and we're figuring it out, so that's a good sign. All right, there's a couple of things I want to wrap up with. I'm kind of with Steve. I have been to a lot of events. I mean, I've been in Omaha, Nebraska to see Donald Trump, and as far as getting a message across and sharing a man's heart, Tony has done as good a job as I've ever seen from anywhere else. And I will tell you that when Steve and I started, if you would have took the knowledge we had and the abilities to come forward into the jobs we had and combine them, I don't think we'd have been Tony. So you are blessed, never doubt it. But we got to take and follow through with this, because you've got big money working against it, ugly big money. And I can't go into the details, or else some of you guys would be shocked at the people that are shaping the future of Nebraska by trying to manipulate these elections. And if we don't take good people with good hearts and get them there, they will poison that legislature, and they will bleed the state of Nebraska to where it will collapse. And we're close to it now with property tax. That's why Steve Erdman's plan with epic tax, they've done everything to run it in the ground. They've cornered every lobbyist to work against it. They've cornered every big money, Chamber of Commerce, you name it. And they're fighting against it because it's change, and everybody hates change, especially when you're sucking on the government tit. So what we're going to do is continue to put good folks in. That's why when he said, I hope somebody filmed this, every Republican Party in the state of Nebraska that have a candidate running for legislature ought to listen to that speech and understand we just set the standard what it needs to look like.
Yes.
All right, so now, how do we get elected? We've already covered some of them. Parades. Walking in a parade just simply tells folks that you're with it. And if there's enough people walking, and I plan to be in Crawford, I plan to be wherever Tony needs me, I'm going to try and be there and come in force with my family. And we're gonna make sure folks know, you know, that he is the person that needs to represent this district. These billboard signs, I know you see them and you don't think much about them. I got to be an expert on them. Like I said, I had to fetch some of them from Kansas. And there's some tricks to putting these out. And I don't mean to bore you with this, but if you just take a second and listen to me, you'll understand why. First off, if you put one up, you need to use 3 steel posts. 2 steel posts don't work. They bow in the middle and they blow away. But when you do it, I highly recommend it. Again, this is, you know, we started wiring the darn things. Well, guess what? Wind and wire in Nebraska don't work because they just split it and it's gone. If you take and notch it and run that, they make thick zip ties, like yay thick, and you zip tie, quick, easy, and they stay better. So just a little touch like that. And even got to the point where we took some rather large washers and we threaded the washer in there, because then you got more surface area that's holding them. Again, you're like, oh, this is so trivial. But if you're paying $50 a sign and it ends up in Kansas, it don't do you no good. The other thing is, you got to strategically place them. And I'll tell you an example. Marv Roth has got a spot on Highway 20 here where you're on that turn just before you get to the radio station, kind of up on the hill. There's a windsock there. Absolutely perfect place. That's positioned. Everybody gets to see it. We need to own Highway 20. We need to get down on the roads going north and south on the counties that are in the district, and some of them don't have to. I would not hesitate to get signs down around Thomas County, because everybody coming from Broken Bow makes that route. But you got to get on 2 and you got to feed. Now remember, our district goes beyond Broken Bow. So everything is Custer County, we need to have a lot of signs scattered. Those aren't the folks who necessarily know that well, so we got to figure out who those are. And then getting up to Burwell and along Highway 20. So this is not going to be enough signs. And Tony, I gave you twice as much as you need for signs, because I figure you'll be back for another bunch, but maybe another bunch gets made in 43rd and then we do it right. But these signs are some of the most valuable things you're going to get out there, because people see them every day as they go by, and pretty soon it gets ingrained in your brain, that name, and it also tells you need to go out and meet the guy. Where mailers, I don't know about you, but things will come in the mail and they usually hit the trash, and you don't spend a lot of time looking at them. So people, and I don't remember what a mailer, I want to say it's $5 a pop to do mailers, so you can spend 25 grand in a few weeks, and if it all ends up in the trash, it's pretty useless. But those signs, they tell a story that people follow up on. The other thing is yard signs, quick reference. That's who I support. So those are important. What's going to happen now is Tony's going to have to get some money, and like I said, I'm giving him what I think, folks, where they would want the money they gave me to go, and we're gonna get to a point where he's going to be able to get information out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give him my mailing list. I'm going to give him the people who gave to me, because I believe that they're going to want to give to him. And so a postcard will come out, and something I did is I put a real stamp on there. I didn't make you stamp your own letter. And I know that seems like a little thing, but the way the post office is going is a big thing. But then all you drop whatever your contribution is, you seal it up, it's stamped, it's ready, and you ship it back. He'll go through a cycle where that'll come in, he'll build that war chest, he'll start figuring out where all the major events are, and then figuring out how he can get a team in those places. And then he's going to figure out how he has representatives in all these towns, all the way to Boyd County. And then once he has those reps there, then it'll just simply a matter of setting up events in those towns, meet and greets. What he did here today, he needs to do in every town of any size. I don't care if we're talking about Merriman or we're talking about, the smallest town in Boyd County, Spencer. That's where you need to be, because those are the people that vote. And ultimately, that's who you need. The problem with the mailer is it goes to everybody, and a lot of folks don't care, don't vote, whatever. But if they care enough to come to these events and you can sell them, that's going to be it. He's going to have a race on his hands, because she will bring big money, lobbyists. She will bring money that will be very dark money, that will be evil in how they attack the man. They will accuse him of doing everything under the sun. And it's terrible that we're in a situation like that. But when you're someone who is a person of faith, who has lived a good life, it makes it really hard for them to find something to say that's really terrible. And they'll find it, but it's just truth doesn't matter in the end with some of these things they do. The main thing is keep your head up, keep charging forward. Because there were some dark days where I was saying, I think I may have made a mistake. This is hard. This is just really hard. It's ugly. And it doesn't necessarily get a lot better when you get the job. You get a lot of hate mail. Last night, driving up, I got a whole bunch of hate mail about, of all things, the First Freedom Act. First Freedom Act is a bill I have that's coming to the floor. What it says is that last year I defended the Second Amendment rights. This year I'm defending the First Amendment rights. And what it is, it keeps the government from closing churches during a emergency, pandemic. That should be up to the people. That should not be up to the government whether you go to church. But that's the kind of things you have to have people doing down there, or you will lose those rights. And once they're gone, Tony's right, you can rewrite law, but it's a lot harder once it's there. It's better to do it right the first time. And don't give up on empty tax. Because you look where Steve started with empty tax and where he is now. He's come a long ways. And if the state bleeds just a little bit longer, people are going to uprise and say, listen, enough is enough. I'm tired of paying rent on my land to the county and the government. Let's figure out a way that we do it where it's fairly distributed amongst the population. Because keep in mind, the ones that don't want it are the ones that aren't paying, obviously. Well, that's a lot of big corporations have all kinds of big breaks here. Those are the people that spend all the time taking your tax dollars and buying popping peanut butter chips and everything else. It's people who waste money that don't want to see an empty tax because it's a more fair tax. So you're going to hear a lot of those things. But what I want to stress as we finish up here today, do whatever you can to get the word out about Tony. We're gonna be going through some channels to get the word out statewide because that's essential. Because there's money out there to help candidates like that. There's good people that don't necessarily have to be from your district that will help you. But they have to know you, and they have to know that you're a candidate, and so that's part of our fight now. But as you guys go out today, take yard signs, a billboard if you got a good place to put it, and share the story that Tony just shared with you today, because I truly believe that the 43rd is blessed with a good man, and we got to help him get elected. Thank you for being here today.